Fox News Bret Baier claims Harris campaign tried to steal time from the interview, then had VP show up late. Apparently, there are some rumors happening that there were some complications that occurred with the interview with Kamala Harris and Bret Baier for Fox News. Apparently, Kamala Harris arrived to the interview late and then was being signaled to leave early. So if you watch the interview in its entirety, as short as it was, toward the end, you'll hear Bret Baier saying, "They're signaling me. We got to hurry up and wrap this up." And Kamala Harris wanted to continue to do whatever it was that she was doing in her communication to Bret Baier. Since the interview, Bret Baier has come out and given a detailed explanation of, from his perspective, exactly what was going on. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this article from the New York Post and then watch a clip from Fox and see just what happened. All right. So let's get into this.
Dana, I'll give you a little behind the scenes here. I know you love this, and it fits in with Dana Reed Sports. When the kicker in football, they call a timeout right before he's going to kick the field goal. They're icing the kicker. So we were supposed to start at 5 p.m. This was the time they gave us. Originally, we were going to do 25 or 30 minutes. They came in and said, well, maybe 20. So it was already getting whittled down. And then the vice president showed up about 5:15. We were pushing the envelope to be able to turn it around for the top of the 6 o'clock. So that's how it started. And I could tell when we started talking that she was going to be tough to redirect without me trying to interrupt. I did this with President Obama. At one point, I just said, "Mr. President, I know you like the filibuster." I just didn't even have the chance to sometimes redirect in those ways. I had a lot of other questions.
All right, so there's that. All right, pretty interesting. All right, so now what it says here is Fox News special report host Bret Baier claimed Wednesday that Kamala Harris's campaign team paired the allotted time he had with her just before a highly anticipated interview, and then had the vice president show up late. Baier, a veteran political journalist, compared the Harris campaign tactics to a football team's icing the kicker before an important field goal attempt. So we were supposed to start at 5 o'clock p.m. This was the time they gave us originally. We're going to do 25 or 30 minutes, the host explained. They came in and said, well, maybe 20 minutes. So it was already getting whittled down, Baier added. And then the vice president showed up at about 5:15 p.m. The special report host noted that Harris's tardiness made it a challenge for his production team to get the interview out at the start time of 6 p.m. We're pushing the envelope, Baier said. So that's how it started. And I could tell when we started talking that she was going to be tough to, redirect without me trying to interrupt, he continued, referring to the Democratic nominee's efforts to, quote unquote, filibuster during the interview and not allow him to get a word in edgewise. In his post-interview analysis, Baier also revealed that he had hoped to ask more questions. And if I'm not mistaken, you'll see later, I believe it's Sean Hannity asks him if he had about 50 questions that he wanted to ask Harris. And according to Baier, he says that he had a total of 75 questions that he wanted to ask Harris. But several Harris campaign staffers were frantically signaling him to cut off the camera to end the interview because his time was up. I'm talking like 4 people waving their hands. It's got to stop, he said. I had to dismount there and end, which is wild. Like, that's wild. I wonder if they have like any backstage camera that they could put out to validate any of this. Baier noted that he believes Harris's campaign came into the interview with the goal of cramming in her talking points, regardless of the questions that he asked. Normally, you can kind of get in on the breath, Baier said, referring to his efforts to get Harris to directly answer his inquiries. Sometimes there's an effort to filibuster to create a moment, he added. And I think that was their goal coming in. Harris, who is 59, dodged several of the Fox News host's questions during the sit-down, including ones related to immigration, border security, and the president's mental decline. The Post has reached out to the Harris campaign for comment, and as much of a media blitz as the Harris campaign is on, you would think that they've got right back to the New York Post for a immediate sit down where Kamala Harris would be able to answer these questions specifically, to Fox News by herself. But for whatever reason, I'm sure that hasn't happened yet. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at this Fox News clip. And this is the clip where Sean Hannity is interviewing Bret Baier. And they're going to go into even more detail about what it was that happened towards the end of the interview to where Bret Baier had to, quote unquote, dismount the interview.
Our very own. He's the host of Special Report. I think he took all the joy out of the Kamala Harris campaign today. She didn't look particularly joyous doing this interview, but I thought you did a great job with a very limited amount of time. And I just want to take us behind the scenes. What was going on?
Yeah, obviously, thanks, Sean. It's great to see you. It was a little tense. We were given the time of 5 p.m. Eastern time. Obviously, my show is at 6 p.m. They wanted to tape at 5 p.m. We said we were going to tape as live. In other words, roll the tape and then just turn that around unedited, uninterrupted. And but we had to do it before 5:15. Otherwise, we couldn't turn the whole machine around before the top of the 6 p.m. show. So we were waiting at 4:55 and then 5 and then 5:05 and then 5:10. At 5:17, the vice president walked out. So it did feel a little bit like they're icing the kicker or trying to. And originally they were talking about 25 minutes and they gave us 20 minutes. And I was fine with any time. I was really happy to get the interview. But I knew right away when we started asking questions, that this was kind of a sense that she was going to keep on talking, and that if I wanted to get through and redirect, I was going to have to interrupt. I don't particularly love to do that. But if I didn't do it, there may have been, 4 answers in the interview.
Well, I don't really think you had any choice. And for people that don't understand the time in TV, if somebody's trying to filibuster or avoiding a direct question, which you did repeatedly, or just going off and using that moment or every moment to attack her opponent, as I think she did often in this. What I did like about what you did, I'm guessing you probably had 50 questions in your arsenal that you were ready to ask, questions you would have loved to have gotten to.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
75.
But what I noticed, and I think you had to do, is, for example, you did spend a significant amount of time on immigration. Now, I played a lot of tape at the beginning of the show. She wants to decriminalize illegal immigration. She said it in her own words. She wants free housing, healthcare, education, sex change surgeries. She's on tape saying it. You brought up Tim Walz's position, driver's licenses, free college, a path to citizenship, amnesty. They rescinded all of the Trump and they said it proudly, all of the Trump policies that were working. Trump's chart that he loves so much shows that. That's the chart that saved his life in Butler, PA. And she just denied it and wouldn't answer. And I was more shocked at her lack of apology to people that died by these unvetted illegal immigrants that came in because of their policies.
Yeah. So I studied how she's answered immigration before, and it really does go through a TikTok. She says when they first arrive in office, they put forward this bill and it didn't go through. But she doesn't talk about the bill. It was an amnesty bill for 11 million illegal aliens inside the country over 8 years. They had control of the White House, the Senate, and the House, and yet the Democratic leadership didn't put that bill forward, and the White House really didn't even push it. But she starts there, and then she says there's this evolution. She tried to do all these things with the president, and then they had this comprehensive effort, this bipartisan bill. The bipartisan bill was voted against by 8 Democrats, and it had some major problems that conservatives didn't like. There were about 1.8 million illegal immigrants that would be let in every year. And there were all kinds of other stipulations that conservatives didn't like. So it didn't have a chance. She says that these things happened very quickly. The one bill and the other bill, there were 3.5 years in between them. And in that time, 94 executive orders were rescinded, among them catch and release and remain in Mexico. And that's why a lot of these people were released. It's, there's different numbers, but if you go by the Homeland Security Secretary, 85% of the apprehensions, it's more than 6 million people. And some of them committed heinous crimes. And that's why I wanted to go down that road at the beginning. I spent a lot of time on it, but I thought nobody else would go into that depth, and I figured it was worth it.
I think it was enlightening, and I think if you didn't follow up and you didn't press it, and you didn't inform viewers about what was actually in that bill, because you're right, she gives the same answer. The only answer that I got to give her credit she didn't use is she didn't say, did you know I came from a middle-class family? I expected that answer at some point. At one point, you reminded her that she had been in power for 3.5 years. She has been saying on the campaign trail she will fix inflation on day one. She will deal with the border on day one. Wasn't day one January 20th, 2021, And then at one point she said, well, you know what I mean. And you said, no, I really don't. Explain that.
Yeah, I really didn't. I played the sound bites. You remember, she had a couple of bites at the apple in a couple of shows. The View, Stephen Colbert, they essentially asked the same question. She did it on The View. It got a lot of attention. I think Stephen Colbert maybe asked it again to try to give a cleanup operation. I played those sound bites for her and essentially thinking they have to have a different answer now. This many days later.
So again, with these sound bites that he's talking about, these sound bites are in relation to the question, how will a Kamala Harris presidency move America forward in a different way than a Joe Biden presidency currently is doing for the United States? And all of these sound bites are substantiating her saying that she would do nothing different. In addition to those sound bites substantiating that she would do nothing different, you can take a look at the base of all of her policies that she's offering, including her quote unquote policy for black men. All of these policies are all drawn from the ink of Biden era policy. So if you're not even bringing any new ideas for policy that are original to your own, how then can we say that a Kamala Harris presidency would be in movement forward from a Joe Biden presidency when the Kamala Harris Tim Walz campaign is campaigning to potential voters with the reward of utilization of Biden Harris policy? Where is the movement forward from Biden as long as the Biden name is attached to the Harris name on the legislation that's being used to push the new campaign forward? That right there is the question.
And it really didn't have that much substance differently, saying that she would do something differently. So the theme of the campaign is a new way forward and turn the page. And what I said was, if you're turning the page, who are you turning the page on? You were the vice president for the last 3.5 years. And obviously went with some follow-ups. When she said, you know what I'm talking about, Donald Trump has been running for 10 years. I was just being honest. I didn't know what she was talking about. And I was trying to get at what she was saying.
So the Harris campaign knew that this was going to air tonight. You say that she finally got in the chair at 5:17. You have to turn this around by 6 p.m. Not an easy task in television. They had given you a hard 30 minutes, no more. And my understanding is they were
actually it was 25, and then it went to 20.
Oh, so they cut back on the time, and you know that they're cutting back. It's just not exactly easy. How did it end? We know how it started. When she left, how was her campaign? How was she to you when she left?
Yeah, I mean, it's cordial. And I said, thank you so much, Madam Vice President, for the time. She said, thank you. Her people, probably 4 people, were wrapping me, with big, moving arms. That's why I looked out to the side and said, I've got to wrap up. You want to keep talking. You want to keep asking questions. But they were very animated. And listen, I hope she comes back. I actually think this is a different take. I think she had a mission that she wanted to do, and maybe she wanted to have a viral moment. She wanted to have a pushback. She came to Fox News and she wanted to have a go after Donald Trump viral moment that plays on a lot of other channels and on social media. And I think she may have gotten that. I think in the interim, we had a good exchange. I wish it wasn't so much filibuster. I wish it was just a cordial conversation about policy and follow-ups. Maybe if we had more time, maybe she'll come back. I don't know. I don't know if she will or not, but I hope she does. And obviously, I hope the former president does the same format.
It was very enlightening. I walked away with a feeling of, I think I kind of understand why they don't want tough interviews, and this will be the last one I think that they ever do. But you did your job, and you were fair, you were tough, you followed up, you pressed her, and in a very short period of time. We appreciate you sharing your time with us tonight. Thank you, Bret. Hey, Sean Hannity.
So I think at the end of this, we can ask this question, and you guys can let me know what you think. The same way Trump delivered a career-ending injury to President Joe Biden during that epic debate, did Fox News deliver a career-ending blow to Kamala Harris with this interview? Or did Kamala Harris deliver a career-ending blow to herself? Or did the Democrats deliver a career-ending blow to themselves by swapping candidates, jumping the gun early, and putting Kamala Harris as the front runner and removing Joe Biden? Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice, smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers. Make sure that you leave a comment, and I will catch you all on the next video. All right, peace.